Hey guys, my name's Molly and I'm bringing you conscious growth videos to help you up level in your life. And today I wanted to talk about the essence of our energy and our overall well-being and our awareness of our overall well-being. Because what I often notice in society is that we've become really good at just, knowing whether we feel good or bad. And I think mental health has really instilled this idea that, we either feel good or we feel bad, or we either have a mental health issue or we don't. And it's just not true. And the thing is, it's actually about the awareness of everything in between. Because I don't know if you've experienced this or you know anyone that's experienced this, but, felt like maybe you felt fine, you felt good, you felt whatever, and then all of a sudden you were dealing with a mental health issue and it felt like it came out of nowhere, and it feels like, all of a sudden we just have a mental health issue when we haven't had mental health problems before. And this is the idea of not recognizing that there's so much going on in between that we need to bring awareness to, because this is where our growth really lies. Of, can we become aware of everything that we're actually feeling, to actually know that we can always feel better, we can always improve how we're feeling, but also stop ourselves from getting to that point where we are exhibiting issues that actually become really debilitating in our life. And so it's about recognizing that there's no real such thing as good or bad. It's about how much awareness we have over everything, and are we actually feeling as good as we could be feeling? Because the truth is, there's no ceiling on how good we can actually feel. And this comes down to our energy and recognizing, knowing our energy and our vibration. And so what I wanted to show you today, guys, is the emotional guidance scale. It was sort of developed by Abraham Hicks, and it's a really, really good visual representation of actually how we experience the changes in our energy all the time. And it's really important to recognize that our energy is in constant flux. We are constantly experiencing emotional and energetic changes. So if we're just feeling good or bad, then we don't have an awareness of everything that's going on in between, or actually what's going on in general. So the emotional guidance scale is an amazing way to just see that actually what happens is we can sort of think of it as like an egg timer. And if you can see here in this image, it's sort of, you've got your upward spiral and then you've got your downward spiral. And I have to admit that most people these days live in this downward spiral. And that kind of looks like those experiences of feeling like you're just trying to survive. It's feeling like you're always, you're in the place of fear. Essentially, when we're in survival mode, we're looking at everything through a lens of fear. So when we're on this downward spiral, everything feels like a push. It feels like, all of our negative emotions are there. We're being driven by our negative emotions. We've been driven by our negative thoughts. Everything feels really difficult. And if you can see in this next slide, that downward spiral is where we feel all of our lower vibration emotions. So when we're feeling in that place of kind of despair or helplessness, we're really at that lower end of the spiral. So one thing I like to say to a lot of people is, when we think about our life in terms of this upward and downward spiral and know that we're constantly in motion, it's actually about knowing that in order to go up this spiral, we actually have to move through pretty much everything in between. So it's not about, feeling like I'm in this space of, fear and anger and rage and, I'm down there at sort of point 19, let's say. It's not about just being able to sit in gratitude and all of a sudden feel grateful. And this is something I really grappled with a lot, because I think these days, a lot of people are like, be grateful and think gratitude and feel grateful for your life. But the reality is, if you're in this downward spiral spot, if you're down here in hatred and rage, yes, you can think grateful thoughts. Yes, you can choose positive thinking, but it's unlikely you're actually going to feel gratitude. You're not going to feel gratitude and gratefulness because that's really at the top of the spiral. So the thing is, it's recognizing that how we feel, we can actually be objective to that. When we have a look at this, the way our energy transforms like this, we can know that actually as I start to shift these negative states, my energy will slowly change and I'll start to notice different emotional changes. So maybe we start moving to more frustration rather than anger and hatred and rage. And this shows us that we are improving our energetic vibration. So it means that we're not necessarily like helpless, we are actually improving. And something that when I work with people as well, sometimes if I'm working with them and they've been in this downward spiral, they've been on the lower end, because they've been in survival mentality, all of those, emotions have been negative. They might reach a stage where they just start to just feel blah again, and it might be quite just neutral, flat, really like apathetic in a way to anything. And it can feel like a plateau, or it can feel like, oh, have I gone backwards? But actually, from an objective standpoint, that's your middle of the spiral happening. So in a way, you can recognize, hang on, this is me kind of coming out of those lower ends of the emotional guidance scale. You're coming out of the lower end of the spiral, and you have to almost transition through that phase of it feeling a bit blah or neutral before you actually start being able to move into your positive states, which is where we start to actually build these positive feelings again, and we start to feel optimistic, hopefulness. We start to feel, that we have passion again, enthusiasm and joy. And this is where we really recognize that we build momentum as we get into that higher end of the spiral. We can always feel better. And so a lot of the time I notice, if we've been in survival mode for years, and most of us we've been on this lower end of the scale, we've gotten used to it. And we might hit that place of neutral, or we might hit contentment just above as we're moving up. And we think, well, this is far better than what I've had. So we kind of get comfortable there. And we think, well, this is good. I feel good and I feel content with my life. And that's awesome. It's so awesome. But it's also about recognizing that there's no ceiling to how good we can feel. And from there, it becomes paying more and more attention and building our awareness around our energy so we can keep shifting and moving up that spiral. And when we haven't known what's possible, it's about recognizing what is possible, that we can actually keep feeling better. What are these other states that we haven't yet felt and moved into? Because that contentment space, it may be the highest vibrational energy you've reached ever, or it might be that you just haven't felt that in so long. You're so it's just a relief to feel that way. But this is why working on ourselves, guys, and doing personal development work and conscious growth work is about recognizing that there is no ceiling to how good we can feel. And it's also recognizing that we don't need to be in a crisis in order to work on ourselves, or we don't need to be in a crisis in order to improve our life. And most of the time, this mental health stuff is about this good and bad, and all of a sudden we feel like, a lot of the services out there are sort of like make us feel like, well, we've got to be in crisis before we take some action and improve ourselves. And it's sort of like we wait till we're at the bottom of the spiral where we're really suffering and we feel helpless, and it's really in a reactive space, and it becomes so hard to actually climb out of that spiral when we're there. So when we actually know that, no, I don't need to wait till I'm in a crisis, because actually, how good can my life be? If I'm sitting in a place where I'm feeling hopeful and content, it's like, I don't need to wait until I've kind of fallen down the spiral, until I act. It might be, I feel like I want to feel better. I know I can feel better. I've got this feeling deep down that I want to do more with my life, and I feel like that I'm capable of so much more. And you are. This is the thing, that we are. And that innate feeling is something to move towards, and recognize that in life, it's not about good and bad and feeling perfect or not. It's actually knowing that we are always in this constant flux of energy change. We are always changing. And so we're not ever taking a backward step. And this is something to really understand, is if we start moving up the spiral and recognize these higher states of energy, if we then realize, at some point we've fallen back down into worry and fear, it's okay. We haven't fallen backwards, because we have the wisdom of knowing, okay, like I've been here before. I know what's going to help me out of it. And it actually becomes about recognizing what affects my energy, what actually pushes me down that spiral, and starting to let go of those things that don't support my energy, my vibration, how far and how good I want to feel. And an example of this is people around us. We need to pay attention to that, for instance, of how do other people leave me feeling? Do they keep me in a negative state? Am I feeling in a really positive state, and then I hang out with certain people or I engage in certain activities? I might drink or smoke or do certain things with that group of people, and afterwards I feel like my energy has been brought down, or I'm sort of, the next few days I'm in that downward spiral. I'm kind of low, my energy is so much lower. So it's about recognizing what actually impacts my energy, so I can let go of what I know isn't serving me. Because the more we do this, the easier it is to actually find balance in our life and to stay in this upward spiral, but also not judging ourselves if we move down that spiral, because we have an awareness of it. We have an awareness of being able to be proactive on it. We know what we can let go of, what's not serving us, and know that we can keep improving all the time. We can keep expanding our awareness, letting go of things that are not helping us. And as we expand our awareness, we will discover more and more things that are actually impacting our vibration. And so the biggest thing that I wanted to share about this today is just recognizing that it's not about good and bad. It's not about having a mental health issue or not. It's about wanting to live your best life and knowing that you can always improve how you feel. Because as you move up that spiral, the states of being that you experience become so intense. Experiencing true joy, like inner peace, real passion, having that empowerment that you've potentially not felt. And it becomes recognizing this is a state of being. It's not actually, this happiness that we're kind of told that's fleeting in material items. It's about creating states of being. And when we reach that and we can bring that into our life by paying attention to our energetic state, it is amazing. And we want to feel that way more and more and more. And we want to be like, what else is possible? How much more free, fulfilled can I feel? How much love can I actually feel? Because it's not really possible when we're in those downward spirals. But this takes looking at this and going, I don't need to be in a crisis if I want to improve. I can experience so much more in any moment that I want. And it's about awareness. It's about building awareness and then getting that knowledge and knowing that wisdom is what we want. It's the wisdom. It's not about whether we're good or bad. It means nothing. So I hope that this is something that really resonates with you, and I hope you can use this emotional guidance scale as I guess just a way to check in with yourself of like, how am I feeling today? To know where am I on that spiral, and to know when you're feeling perhaps negative emotions or you're in the downward spiral, it's okay. And we move through it. So know that if you're feeling like you've only shifted a couple, at least you know you're moving up. We have to kind of go in that circular motion. We can't just go from, you know, the bottom to the top. And it also validates how we're feeling. We can't just feel grateful when we are actually feeling some negative emotions and we're in a negative state. That's okay. It becomes about understanding. So I hope you can use this as a way to understand your experience a lot more and know that we can absolutely always feel better. And we can learn to balance our energy so much more. And it's amazing when we have a visual representation like this that shows us that we're all human and that our energy is in flux all the time. Anyway, guys, that's it from me today. And look, if you have any questions about anything I've discussed or any of this resonates with you or you want to reach out, please do. I'll leave some links to, you know, get in touch, chat with me, whatever. Would love to hear from you, but I hope this has been useful. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.